Both mine and my camera's batteries have been recharged, and boy howdy am I gonna need it. No, why are you jamming again? I don't know what's happening. Oh, I'm tired. Stress. I have every intention of making every single Wandavision look. Well, maybe not every single one, because there's a lot in all the title sequences as well. I have every single intention of making a Wandavision look from each decade. That is still a fair amount of things to make, and that's like my goal for the next 10 months. Following on from 50's Wanda, today we're going to be tackling my second favourite look from the show, which is 80's Wanda. In case you're curious, my first favourite look is 70's Wanda, because... Anywho, we'll be focusing on 80's Wanda today, and I'm going to take you through all of the materials. For the front of the waistcoat, I found a second-hand pair of curtains, and the pattern matches up pretty closely. And then for the back of the waistcoat, I decided it would be cheaper to buy a really big pair of old jeans from a charity shop than it would be to just buy brand new denim. Also on the back of the waistcoat, there's this little like metal clasp chain feature. In the show, it's more of a copper bronze colour, but I already have this silver one in my collection, so I decided to just use this instead of buying another one. As for the buttons on the waistcoat, I completely forgot to actually sort this out. Looked through my button stash, and these were the closest match I was able to find. They are two different types of buttons, and one is bigger than the rest. In terms of actually making the waistcoat, I'm very excited to be able to use an actual vintage 1980s pattern. Moving on to the trousers, I bought some thick pink linen from my favourite dead stock fabric website, and I bought way more than I'm going to need, but it was a really nice fabric, so I figured I wanted some to use in a future project as well. I also managed to score a vintage pattern for the trousers too. This one is more early 90s than 80s, but it's a pretty good match to the trousers in the show. And then to complete the outfit, I searched on Vinted and found this beautiful turtleneck. Got like old book smell. I think I've missed some steps. The first step, once you've cut stuff out, is to stitch the darts in the front and then press open. Even though the instructions really didn't make a whole lot of sense to me, I knew enough about sewing to know I at least needed to start by cutting out my fabric. When it came to cutting out the jeans, the legs weren't wide enough to get a complete panel, so I decided to split it in half and add a seam through the centre back. I've got to say, I am already loving this. You can already see it coming together as the finished thing. I'm so friggin' excited. Darts. Ooh, yes. There's darts in the front, but there's also darts in the back as well. So if I don't add the darts in the back because the back is being elasticated, then I'm fine. For context, I was worried the back panels would be too small as I forgot to add extra fabric to be gathered by elastic before cutting it out. I love it when things work out. Now, I have not done a dart since I was like 15 years old in textiles class. I don't entirely know what I'm doing. I completely went into this with the assumption that I would actually remember GCSE textiles. Do you reckon if I poke a hole in it, I'll be able to see the hole? Just poke a little. Nope. No plan. Well, that is greatly not helpful. The instructions: stitch darts in front. Looks like we're on a roll. Oh, I can just feel my comment section getting filled up with people telling me how easy darts are. Maybe if you know how to do them. Can I just, like, is that what these little holes are? Can I just like pin it up like that? But then, now how do I do that without the paper attached? Now my battery's dying. Stress. I don't know what's going to happen now. Maybe we will see each other again in the future when I have figured this out. By some actual miracle, my weird method for getting the darts in has worked, so I'm going to machine those in now. And then there was something about a weft, the little faux pocket thingy. Welt? Yes, welt. I'm gonna thread the machine it, and then we're gonna sew in the darts, and then we're gonna do the weird pockety things, and then we're gonna see what we can do about elasticating the back, which I've never done before, so should be good. The machine is just covered in dust. Okay, so I'm just gonna... I'm a little bit nervous, 'cause I've never done this before, and I don't wanna screw it up. Sure, I'll be fine. That makes me so happy. Now to figure out my welts. Oh my god. Sewing machines really need to weigh that much. Turn and see around of each welt. What's a welt? Okay, I don't know what those sentences mean, but from the pictures it's talking about the little false pockety bits. Moving on, I'll figure that out later. I'm gonna go get the instructions back. And matching symbols. What symbols? I don't know what's happening. I think this is all just a very complicated way of saying you just stitch a rectangle to the front of it. Yeah, it's just a rectangle. Why make that complicated? So done with those instructions. Oh, hang on a minute. This is a curtain, it's got a nice edge already. I can just use that as my welt. I don't have to make this. I pinned my little welts into position over the darts that I so masterfully created earlier. I then carefully machined the border as neat as I possibly could get it, and I was very proud of myself. Then it's also the lining, but we're not doing the lining. Instead, I decided to take a shortcut and make these armhole flap thingies. They do have a technical term, I do not remember what it is, but basically it saves you from making an entire lining and just neatens off your armholes for you. You stitch back and front together at the shoulders. Okay, then you just sew the sides together. I forgot to put the mic on. As you can see, I very nearly have a complete vest. I finished off most of the basic construction last night. I finished off most of the basic construction last night, and I'm actually really happy with how it's turning out. The only things I have left to do are sew the back of the neck, which is currently pinned, get the buttons and the buttonholes in, scrunch in the back with the elastic, and add the little buckle thing, which is why it's so big and boxy right now, because the elastic will cinch it all in. I'm hoping that will all be a pretty smooth ride and it will not take that long, which means we can get straight in with making the trousers. Without further ado, let's get on with it. Buttons. Bear with the technical difficulties. I need to figure out how much overlap, also which side is which. That way is the overlap. At this point I used chalk to mark roughly where the buttons and the buttonholes needed to go. Yeah, I know what I'm doing sometimes. I then put the buttons in place to get an idea of the width of the buttonholes and manually machine them all in place. And yes, it was incredibly neat and messy. Done my buttonholes, just need to sew my buttons on. And after all of that futzing around, figuring out which side needed to overlap which, I did it the wrong way around. I mean, it's fine. It is what it is. It will still look good. It's a minor detail that will only bug me slightly. Onwards. Once I've finished sewing on all of my buttons, next step will be to do the elasticated bit on the back. I'm kind of nervous about it because I've never really sewn elastic into anything before. Also, this is the elastic I have. I was under the impression I had like a thick strip of it, not like the really thin. So I'm gonna have to do like multiple strips to get the thickness. Before moving on to the elastic, however, I sat and sewed all the buttons on whilst listening to all of my favourite musical numbers. I've just discovered that I wasn't filming, even though I've been talking to the camera for like 10 minutes, so. The riveting content that you have missed is that I pinned the back of the waistcoat up just to see how much I need to scrunch them. I then put a pin either side of my scrunch to take the scrunch out, and now I'm just cutting elastics to the size that I needed it. And my overhead camera died and my battery isn't charged yet, so we don't have that anymore. That's where we're at. I don't know how to do this. Pinning it on seems stupid, and like all I'm gonna do is hurt my fingers a lot when it keeps pinging back at me. So I feel like you just sew it, pulling it without pinning it. This seems like it's a terrible idea. Okay, that did something. Crying out loud. No, why are you jamming again? No! This can rot in hell. Okay. That went okay. I might just put a third one in and leave it 3 instead of 5, because okay. I should get one more piece in, and then I can never do this again. It's over. Oh, okay, that didn't turn out too bad. It's not the neatest, but it is done. Don't know if you can make that out at all, but it's not too shabby. If I take it in at the sides, just so it's not as big, then the back is actually pretty darn spot on, so I am so happy. A lot of the boxiness is from under the arms, so I think that needs taking in more than the bottom of it does. Okay, my camera is gonna die. I'm gonna sew the sides of this and then try and get that little clasp on. See you soon. Hello, both mine and my camera's batteries have been recharged, and boy howdy am I gonna need it, because today we will be tackling my first ever pair of trousers. I'm hoping the instructions on this pattern will be considerably easier to follow than the last pattern. I'm also hoping that the complete set is actually in here, because it's a vintage used pattern and I have foolishly not actually checked inside to even see if it is in there, so. If I learned anything from yesterday's experience, it is that things only work if we first pray to the crafting gods. So on that note, with the gods in our favour, let us embark. They are completely new and unused, which is quite lucky. Definitely has old book smell though. What pieces do I need for the trousers? So trousers are B. Oh, pants. American. I don't know why I did that. I'm looking for piece 10, 11, 12, 13. Are these numbered? Because that would be super helpful. Just gently, come on. 13 is a pattern for a pocket, which means they have pockets. I spent at least 20 minutes debating what size to cut this pattern out to, and ultimately I chose poorly. My paranoia told me to make them bigger, so I made them a full size bigger, and the end result, they are huge. Just for illustrative purposes. Plenty of space for a phone. Fabric. cut out all of the pieces using my zigzag scissors, which I found really enjoyable for some reason. They entertain me greatly. Hello again. I am well chuffed. So I was having a ponder over the instructions when I hit the point of the back of the waistband, which is elasticated. At which point I very quickly realised that the only elastic I've got is this stringy stuff, which is going to be pretty darn useless on a waistband. So I didn't really know what to do, because I definitely can't get them out of the shop right now. I started scavenging around the house. I started trying to think of anything that has elastic in it. I was looking through my old pajamas to see if there were any I was willing to cut up. I was searching everywhere for anything I could get elastic from. And I'd just about given up when, staring blankly across the living room, I spotted it underneath the table. And it was fate. For it finally has a use. The elastic on my yoga mat that I never use. And when I say I had to climb across the room to get this thing out, it was like an obstacle course. I had to climb, I had to crawl, I had to do laser maneuvers. We're currently having a bionicle clear out. It's been a lot this week. I am gonna cut off one of the straps from my yoga mat that I've never used and use that for the elastic on my waistband. Project saved. Now here's the point in the video where my mic died. I have no idea what I'm saying here, but this monologue went on for a very long time. I've tried to lip read, I've tried to interpret what I could have been saying. I have absolutely no idea. If anyone does know how to lip read, feel free to put it in the comments. I'm sure I'm gesturing towards something and back at you. Now was the point in the process when I actually had to put everything together, which was incredibly confusing the entire way through. I had to then put the pleats in the front, which I foolishly marked with pencil instead of tailor's chalk, which I have plenty of, so you can 100% still see the little pencil marks from where I was marking where the pleats needed to go. Following the instructions, I added a waistband to the front to hold the pleats in place and then created a channel on the back to feed my yoga mat elastic through. Once the pockets are in place, I then needed to close up the trousers by doing the 2 side seams last. What can I tell you about this cosplay? So it's warm. Comic-Con is in December this year, so it's good that I will be warm. The trousers are a little big. They're actually very big. I have to kind of hold them up with suspenders. It's got really big pockets, which I love. Pockets! I love the waistcoat. I think it turned out perfectly. The only thing is that obviously the back of it is very bright blue, whereas in the TV show it's like very weathered and worn down. If anyone could give me any tips on how to weather it down without ruining it. The wig needs work, the styling on this thing is awful. But in my defense, I've never had one before. I underestimated how hard it would be just to tie it up into a scrunchie. You know what else? I am really chuffed that you really can't notice that not only are the buttons mismatched, but one is also bigger than all of the rest. Really pleased that that worked out. Thank you so much for watching my video. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see my attempts at all the rest of the Wandavision decades over the next couple of months or longer. And I will be sprinkling other projects in amongst the Wandavision ones. Obviously I'm not doing them all in one go. I don't know, I can't think straight, I'm too tired. I'm gonna go now. Thank you for watching. I hope to see you all again. I love you all. Goodbye. There's a lot of wires on my floor. Yes. No.